Eddie Jordan was a deal maker, an entertainer, and his was the ultimate underdog story.
I had the dream and I had the belief that I could make it in Formula One and I could make a team.
He was a racer who chased that dream and built a winning team. A team designed in his own image, fun-loving, but with serious ambition. A team that became a family with fans all over the world. Eddie, or EJ to his friends, was born Edmund Patrick Jordan in Dublin in Ireland in 1948. It was clear he had an aptitude for numbers and deal-making. At school, he sold fruit to his classmates at a profit. As a young bank clerk, he'd be as likely to sell a customer a second-hand car as arrange a loan. But in the summer of 1970, Eddie's life changed forever when he tried karting for the first time. He was hooked, and he was good. After becoming Irish champion in 1971, he moved on to cars. EJ's entrepreneurial skills funded his new passion. Selling carpet offcuts helped him compete, and then win, in Formula Ford and in the Irish Formula Atlantic series. By 1979, he'd married his sweetheart Marie, and the newlyweds took a leap of faith, moving to England to focus on racing. EJ had his moments. A tilt at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, testing a McLaren F1 car, and dicing with future world champions Nigel Mansell and Alain Prost in the Formula 3 race at the 1979 British Grand Prix, only to crash out on lap 19. But with money tight and a second child on the way, Eddie called time on his driving career, arguing that it would have been selfish to continue. Instead, he focused on a way to combine all his skills, the racing instinct, the deal-making, and his unique powers of persuasion. In 1980, at the age of 32, he founded Eddie Jordan Racing. Operating out of a lockup at Silverstone, he began to build an outfit that would race all the way to the top. In 1983, Martin Brundle drove the team to the brink of the British Formula 3 Championship, staging an epic duel for the title with the eventual champion, a young Ayrton Senna. Jordan went one better in 1987 when Johnny Herbert took the crown, the team's first title. And they followed it up 2 years later with the Formula 3000 Championship, courtesy of Jean Alesi. Like its owner, Eddie Jordan Racing had become a force to be reckoned with. But EJ was not content with just running a successful team. He'd spotted another angle: driver management. By the late 1980s, Jordan was handling the careers of a stable of talented drivers, including Brundle, Herbert, and then newcomer Eddie Irvine. He once said the enterprise earned him £5 million, enough to go racing in the big leagues. When Eddie Jordan Racing became Jordan Grand Prix, it was a risky endeavour. He knew he could sell, and he knew how to make a race team work. But Formula One was a step up.
There are 15, 16 world-class teams here. They have got excellent drivers, they have got excellent technology in terms of the design. I have to believe that our own is particularly good as well. So from that point of view, I feel that on the team side that we're in very good shape.
The first Irish F1 team was small, just 43 people. But the hunger was there, and so was the engineering brilliance, with Gary Anderson hired by Eddie as designer. He crafted the iconic Jordan 191 that rolled onto the streets of Phoenix for the US Grand Prix in March 1991. Bertrand Gachot and Andrea de Cesaris were in the hot seats and started scoring points. But with the financial stakes raised, it was Eddie, as team boss, who felt the heat.
We'd had a lot of bailiffs and we'd had a lot of sponsor problems, and to make a start as a private individual in Formula One, it was very, very difficult.
It got even more difficult halfway through that first season, when Gachot was jailed for an altercation with a London taxi driver. But with a replacement needed for Spa, Eddie looked poised to strike the deal of a lifetime.
I'd heard about this guy who was winning a lot of races, and different people were giving me a bit of a vibe as to maybe I should have a little look, and was very impressed.
And so it was that in August 1991, Eddie handed a Formula One debut to a young German rookie called Michael Schumacher, charging parent team Mercedes £150,000 for the privilege. After he qualified a brilliant 7th on his first ever drive at Spa, he was suddenly the hottest property in the sport.
He was so critical about where to position the car, when to apply the brakes. It's just like as if the car was on rails from day one. So for him to come and do that time was something remarkable.
But Eddie was about to discover that F1 could be a ruthless business. Despite a letter of intent to drive for Jordan for the rest of the season, Benetton swooped to sign Schumacher for the very next race.
The ethics and how we go about honouring people's contracts. I mean, we either have to get drivers to sign contracts or we just leave it free for all. I'm easy either way, but I think we do have to have some very firm situations.
McLaren boss Ron Dennis famously quipped to Eddie, "Welcome to the Piranha Club."
It was a big wound for me. It took quite a bit of time for it to heal. C'est la vie. He went, but to be fair, you could never make up a loss of a talent of Michael Schumacher.
There were signs, however, that Jordan could become a big fish in F1's fiercely competitive pond. As well as finishing an impressive 5th in the Constructors' Championship in 1991, Eddie's driver recruitment model was turning heads. Giving young drivers a break, or a second chance, was attractive and lucrative. The team were a marketing dream. The Rebel outfit, powered by the flashy green Jordan 191, which was fast becoming a fan favourite.
We were a kind of a rock and roll team. We were new kids on the block. We were scoring points and it was fun.
The harsh realities of life in F1 were always there. Indeed, by the end of the first season, Jordan had lost its chief sponsor, its engine supplier, and were £4.5 million in debt. But EJ's positivity, passion, and eye for a deal pulled the team through. And in 1994, that persistence paid off with the team's first podium. 21-year-old Rubens Barrichello, another driver given a debut by the team, took 3rd at the Pacific Grand Prix. He also claimed the team's first pole position at a rain-soaked Spa. It got even better in 1995. Jordan old boy Jean Alesi won for Ferrari in Canada, with Barrichello and Eddie Irvine joining him on the podium. By the mid-90s, showmanship was also part of the team ethos. The famous yellow livery arrived in 1996 and was followed by car mascots. Snakes, sharks and hornets would regularly whiz around circuits on the Jordan's nose, whilst the garage would buzz with celebrities. Eddie was a music fan. He played the drums and he wasn't shy of enlisting drivers to try and make Formula One a little more rock and roll. But for all the showbiz and celebrity, it was still the racing that mattered most to EJ.
I felt inside the Jordan team there was a spirit, a special spirit, that we could achieve things against the big teams.
And that spirit came alive in 1998, when he finally scored the elusive first Formula One victory he craved so much in a dramatic race at Spa.
Get ready in Britain and Ireland, all round the world, to stand up and cheer. And David Hill wins in Belgium. Schumacher second. Fantastic. Eddie Jordan at last after all his efforts.
Former world champion Hill and teammate Ralf Schumacher's remarkable 1-2 prompted Eddie to dance his way down the pit lane and onto the podium. The underdogs were on top at last. That winning feeling would continue in 1999. Heinz-Harald Frentzen raced to impressive victories in Manicourt and Monza, and came close to a title charge. Only Ferrari and McLaren could better Jordan as they finished 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. Jordan was now fighting at the front, but the price of success was high, and Eddie, a numbers man at heart, saw the writing on the wall. The 2003 Brazilian Grand Prix would prove a bittersweet experience for the team. Giancarlo Fisichella was retrospectively awarded the win in Jordan's 200th race in F1. But the Italian's first Grand Prix victory would prove the last for Jordan. Within 18 months of that win, EJ's mind was made up. With running costs soaring, the team was sold, and Eddie Jordan stepped off the Grand Prix stage. But the team that Eddie built lives on. After spells as Midland, Spiker, Force India and Racing Point, the Silverstone team races today as Aston Martin. It was unlikely that Eddie could resist the lure of a racetrack forever, and in 2009 he returned to the Formula One paddock, but this time as an analyst on British television, first for the BBC and then Channel 4. Charming and funny, he was a natural broadcaster with his own unique style, and a whole new generation of fans grew to love him.
Come on!
He also had more time to devote to the charitable causes that he'd long championed: children's cancer and homelessness. He received an honorary OBE in 2012 for his charity work and services to motorsport. At heart, he was still a wheeler dealer, plugged into the buzz of the paddock. It was Eddie who broke the story of Michael Schumacher's comeback in 2010 and the news of Lewis Hamilton's move to Mercedes to replace him 2 years later. But the biggest story of all was the story of his life. The man who took one of the last truly independent teams all the way to the top of Formula One. The man who proved that an underdog could still triumph, and do it all with a smile on his face.
We hopefully would have inspired a lot of young teams, even to this day, that hey, you can come into Formula One, you can defy all the odds, you can actually grab it by the horns and say, we are going to do everything we can to be competitive.
When Eddie Jordan entered Formula One, he brought an energy and vibrancy that the sport had never seen before. He rode the roller coaster, did the deals, and had no regrets. As he said himself, it was quite a ride, and Eddie was happy to bring us all along on his journey.